All right, everyone. Hi there, and welcome to Old Time Central's first interview of 2021. I'm here with Kansas harmonica player Jim McDonald, joining us from Elk Falls, Kansas. Welcome, Jim.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us. I thought we'd start out by having you play a tune for us. I think a lot of people may not have heard harmonica played in an old time style, so you have a tune picked out for us?
You betcha.
All right. All right, that was beautiful. What was that called?
Look at that. That's called leaving on that New River train.
That's beautiful. Where'd you pick that one up?
Oh, gee, I learned that when I was around 16. My dad played that, and it's a song about a rail line that runs in West Virginia along the New River, and they call it New River Train. My granddad played it. My dad, I'd like to have a dime for every time I played that song.
Yeah. So you said you learned it from your dad and your granddad. It seems like your family's played a lot of harmonica.
Well, they did. My granddad played, and apparently his granddad played. Uh, my dad played. I had an uncle that played, and my brother plays some. My son plays. So, yeah, it's been. I was raised in a musical family. My mother played the guitar and accordion, and my grandfather also played. Both of my grandfathers were fiddle players also. I had a grandmother that played the piano. One played mandolin. So I had an aunt that played the guitar. So yeah, I grew up in a musical family.
Yeah, that's great. And is your family from Kansas? How long have they been in Kansas?
Since right after the Civil War, they came from. Well, they originally was in Kentucky and then went to Indiana, and then after the Civil War came to Kansas. It was a migration that a lot of people did back in that time.
Hmm. And where was the harmonica? I don't see many harmonica players now at old time jams or sessions or dances. So where did your grandfather and your father and yourself, where was your main place to play harmonica when you were playing?
Well, back it was just when I was younger. It was all just a family gathering. We'd all get together and play music, and that's how I started when I was just a kid.
Hmm.
They would all get together and play, and of course, I wanted to be a part of it. I kept bugging my dad for a harmonica, and finally, when I was 10, he gave me one, and I started learning. But my granddad and my dad, but my granddad was born in 1890,
Hmm.
and this area of Kansas is very lightly populated. So, as you noticed in that old style of playing, you have the melody going plus the rhythm chording at the same time. Actually, sounds like two harmonicas playing. And my granddad would play dances, house dances, all by himself. He'd be the only person playing. Same way with my dad in the 30s, he played house dances where he was the only instrument playing because the people just didn't have money to buy instruments. It was a poor area. They couldn't afford to buy a fiddle or a banjo or a guitar, but they could buy a harmonica for 50 cents or quarter, something like that.
Right. I was going to mention that sort of sound of, you're playing the backbeat and you're playing the chords and you're playing the melody. Where does that style of playing harmonica come from?
I don't know. I don't know where it originally started. Uh, apparently, my great grandfather played that way, or great great grandfather played that way. Someone told me, and I don't know how true it is, but someone told me, or I read it, and I don't remember, that the person who invented the harmonica, or the tuning, the Richter tuning, that was the way that they thought it should be played.
Hmm.
Uh, but anymore you don't hear a lot of people play that way. There's a few of us around that play the old style, but mostly it seems like young people now that start harmonica want to play blues or rock. You know, they're not into the old time stuff.
So as a complete harmonica layman, do you think you can explain to me what did you say, Richter tuning? Can you
Yeah,
explain to
so
me what that is?
for everything, well, you know, it's called a harmonica because every note is in harmony. So, and I don't really understand you know, I'm a musical idiot actually because I don't read music. I don't have any music theory. I never know what hole I'm blowing or drawing on. I just know where to go to get the sound I want. But now some of them, I know that there's a tuning on it that they call, there's just intonation tuning on them and then equal tuning. And I stay away from equal tuned harmonicas because the chording doesn't sound as good as it does on a just intonation tuned harmonica.
So yeah, are you most harmonica players I've seen, they have a whole bag full of harmonicas they bring with them to a jam. Do you play on lots of different harmonicas, or you just play on the one?
I've got a bunch of them. I very seldom play anything above the key of G because a lot of the old time songs you're in the top part of the harmonica, the the top five holes rather than the bottom five, you know. So usually I play a low F on a lot of it, or a low E, a G. Like I never play, hardly ever play anything above a G. A few songs I'll use an A, but yeah, I have more harmonicas than I should have. You know? I've got a bunch of them. Some of them I've never played.
Um, yeah, so maybe, you're mentioning a lot about, the old time songs and old time music. So as someone who grew up playing old time harmonica, what does that mean to you when you talk about old time songs or old time music? What comes to your head, or what do you think of when you say
Well,
that?
what comes in my head is like a fiddle player, you know, playing a square dance. Uh,
Hmm.
the old songs that originated in Appalachia, that were of Celtic origin, most of them, and that's why I call the harmonica a poor man's fiddle, because you can play the fiddle tunes on it. Now they have to be, a lot of the old songs have to be, you know, you have to adapt them to a harmonica because a lot of fiddle players, they get really busy when they're playing, you know, and you can't really get that busy on a harmonica. So I kind of adapt them to a harmonica. You know, there's several songs. Liberty Two Step, or Liberty, is one that fiddle players get really busy on. So yeah, I had to adapt that to the harmonica. Uh, Gee whiz, there's a lot of them. Soldier's Joy is now, of course, when I play Soldier's Joy, I play it as my grandfather played it. You know, the way he heard it when he was younger, and seems like later on it kind of morphed into a different type of a song for fiddle players. Of course, a lot of bluegrass fiddle players, they really change things because they really want to get busy on that fiddle. I know my granddad, when he'd hear a lot of them play, he'd say it's too damn fast because they do get going on it.
So you said you play a version of Soldier's Joy that your grandpa played that's different than the
Yeah,
one we might be used to.
yeah, yeah.
Do you wanna maybe show us how it goes?
Sure, sure.
that sounds amazing. It's like you have just a full band right there in your hand.
Thank you. Yeah, the first time I made a CD, the recording engineer, that's what he said. That's what he said to me. He said, "You sound like a whole band."
Yeah. We'll get to your. I'll ask you about your CDs in a second, but I was just wondering after that piece, there's so many things there that I just so many like pieces of technique there that I don't normally hear in harmonica players. And I hear them. I know a couple harmonica players, and often they'll just sort of play the melody. Could you maybe talk about your style of playing and some of the techniques that make it stand out?
Yeah, it's a you have to tongue block where your tongue is covering all the holes except for one for the melody, and then when you want the rhythm chording, you're lifting your tongue up and down in a rhythm to get the right rhythm that you want. When I tell people starting out, I say the best thing you can do is a 3/4 time waltz rhythm to kind of get used to using your tongue. People have, well, when I first started, my uncle told me, he said, you put your tongue on there to block it. And I did, and I didn't get any noise at all, because my tongue was covering every hole that I was blowing. And I had to learn where I could get that one note and then lift it up and set it down in a rhythm. And that's what most people have trouble with trying to learn is getting a rhythm, an actual rhythm down.
Do you think it'd be possible for you to show the difference between playing a melody without using your tongue blocking and playing it with, like, to show
Sure,
sort of what that difference sounds like?
sure. I'll do, I don't know, four-leaf clover.
Wow, that difference is amazing.
Oh yeah, it sounds, it gives a lot more to it. And when you're playing a waltz, uh, one thing I do is I open my embouchure a little bit more to where I'm getting some uh, some more notes in there rather than just the chord notes. I'm also trying to get some of the lower register and upper register harmony type notes in it. Uh, I'll give an example. I'll play a waltz called 3 o'clock in the morning. I'll play it through once, and then the second time I'll open it up, and you can kind of tell the difference.
Wow, you really hear that difference there. I'm still trying to wrap my head around how is it that you have, and maybe again, complete harmonica layman here, but how is it that you have the melody note playing while you also have like this whole other rhythm and chords going on? Like the melody note, you just have the one mouth, but you have one note going like this, and then you have the rhythm going bup 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 while the melody note's staying strong. How do you separate those things with your mouth?
It's just with the tongue.
Hmm.
You just keep a steady airflow going and just lifting your tongue and putting it down in a rhythm.
So all of that extra rhythm is just caused by your tongue going up and down.
Yeah, it's just caused by the tongue.
Wow, that's that's the difference is like really stark when you listen to it like that.
Oh yeah, it does make a big difference.
So why do you think? So apparently, this way of playing harmonica was pretty popular, back in the earlier days. Why do you think not as many people play this type of harmonica anymore?
No money in it. Really, I think that's why it is. People want to play. They want to make some money, or they want to be in a band. Playing harmonica like this whole old style of harmonica is a style where you can sit by yourself and play. You don't need a band with you. You don't need a guitar player. You don't. You can just sit there by yourself and play. Like I said, my dad and my granddad both played dances where they were the only person playing. And I can remember one when I was real little, probably the last house dance my dad ever played. And I was a little bitty, but I do remember it. And I do remember people dancing and him playing.
So what were these house dances like? Was it just, someone in town would invite people over and have a dance, or were they regularly scheduled? Were they hosted by someone? What was that whole
It,
scene like?
just for anything, it might be just a Saturday night dance. Hey, let's have a Saturday night dance, or maybe someone's birthday or anniversary or anything. Of course, back then people starved for entertainment. We didn't have TV, and very few people even had a radio. So there's always wanting to do something. So yeah, they'd have dances. Of course, they'd have moonshine, so, a
Of
little
course,
liquid libation to go
of course,
along
of
with
course.
it. That's one thing I remember about that one house dance that I do remember as a kid, because I would hide behind chairs, and when people set their beer down, I'd reach over and take a drink of it.
Which we definitely do not endorse here at Old Time.
No, no, we don't endorse that. No.
Shame on you. Um, so, so yeah. With these dances that you used to play or that you used to go to when you were younger, would this be like organized square dances, or would it just be some music was playing and
A
people did
lot of them
whatever
were
they
square
want? Or
dances, yeah. There were a lot of square dances. Uh, of course, you always had one person that called the dance. They'd stand up there and call all the movements and everything. And as long as that caller called the dance, or you had to keep playing. I know my dad, when I was younger, he was telling me about, and I don't remember the old fellow's name, but he said he'd just call and call and call. My dad said he'd almost just go to sleep playing the song, because it took so long.
and was that you just play one song the whole dance, or would you do a medley? Or
Well, from what he told me, it was one song. Yeah, it was one song, because the one he was complaining about was an old song called Uncle Joe that he played, which I later found out the actual name of it's McLeod's Reel.
Mhm.
But he said he could play that while he's sleeping, while that old man called the dance. So, but they played waltzes. People would waltz, and they played two steps. People do the two-step dance and the square dances, of course.
so so do you still? I mean, do gatherings like that still happen in your area, or have those sort of fizzled out?
No, I don't hear of any of it going on anymore. I mean, people get together at a house, and they'll have recorded music playing, but I don't know that they dance, or anything. They might get kind of wild. I don't know. I haven't been to anything like that for many years.
Hmm.
When I was younger, I used to go to them, but I don't anymore.
Do you have like a musical community there in your area? Do you have people you play these old time tunes with?
No, no, no. There's just a little over 2,000 people in the whole county here. So no, there's nobody that I get together with and play. I
The
just
lone
play by myself.
the lone harmonica player.
I'm the lone harmonica player. Yeah. No, I think there's a fella in a town, oh, he's about 30 miles or maybe 20 miles away that he says he plays a little harmonica. But I've never heard him play, so I don't know. You know, I've had people tell me they play harmonica, but they don't play like the old style and that stuff. They may play a few blues riffs, but they don't actually play a song.
Well, is there anyone are there any other musicians around today or that if people were looking for that old style harmonica, is there anyone else who plays that way that you like to
Oh
listen to?
yeah, yeah. There's a fellow up in Brooklyn, as a matter of fact, Trip Henderson. He plays. He's quite good at it. And of course, Seth Shoemade is a very good old time player. And Seth has done a lot of research into the old time players and the style they played and so forth. And he gets very good at playing some of that stuff like they played. Uh, Gee whiz, I'm not Glenn Wisner, I think his name is, or Weiser, something like that. He's an old time player. I'm just not up because I'm not a very computer literate person. So
Sure, sure, sure.
I'm sure there's a lot of them out there that I've never heard of. That I don't know that play the stuff. But
Well, when you pick up new tunes, if you don't have a musical community there and you're not listening to a lot of different harmonica players, where do you pick up your tunes?
well, a lot of them I learned I was growing up from my granddad and my dad, and then of course, that's one thing I have learned with the computers, the internet, finding old songs so I can hear them. Because I have to get it in my head before I can play it, because I play strictly by ear.
Right.
So I'll have to sometimes listen to it over and over again until I get it completely in my head, and then I can start playing it.
Well, would you like to? You were talking about waltzes earlier. Would you like to maybe play a waltz for us?
Oh, sure, you betcha.
All right, excellent. That sounds really good.
Thank you. Yeah.
So you mentioned that you've produced an album or two, and that's actually how I found out about you was I got your album in the mail, which is which is very
Yeah.
nice, and your business card attached, and I thought it was great. But do you want to talk a little bit about your albums?
Sure. Yeah. I decided that I would. I found out there was an actual recording studio about 60 miles from here, and I called the fellow and told him what I wanted to do, and I said I want to make a CD, and it's just going to be me playing a harmonica and stomping my foot. He said, "Oh, that'll be easy." So, the very first one I did was just called "Poor Man's Fiddle," and I went in and I done, I think, 15 songs where it was just pure harmonica and the foot stomping. Luckily, he has a wood floor in there, so I could stomp on that wood floor. And then the second one, I decided I'd put some Jew's harp in with it. So I recorded all the songs on the harmonica and stomping the foot, and then had him play them over again while I played the Jew's harp to him. And it was the Jew's harp in that was a little more subdued. And then 3, I done the same thing, but brought out the Jew's harp more in it. And I've kept the same theme on all of them. I don't know if, can you see that? That was the
Yeah.
first one. Now my daughter does these. I told her I wanted just a pencil sketch of a man playing a harmonica with a dog, a hound dog. So that's what she came up with, and this was volume 2. I think you have 2 and 3, don't you?
Hmm.
And then this is 3. I can't see if
Oh,
you're
those are
if I'm
those are
getting those
beautiful.
in there
Yeah,
or
we
not.
can see them. Yeah.
And then in the works is volume 4. I'm just getting the song list up for that one now.
So what's your reasoning behind wanting to make albums? Is it are you trying to sell them? Is it for posterity? You just trying to get the
You
tunes
know,
down?
I have sold a few of them. Most of them I've given away. Uh, I wanted to get all of the stuff recorded that I know before I get too old and forget how to do it. I know eventually my dad, he got old where he couldn't, he didn't have the air to play, and he didn't. Some of them he couldn't remember. Uh, I wanted desperately to learn how he played a song called Wagner, and he couldn't remember how it went or how to play it. Now I play it, but I don't play it like he did, and I wanted to learn the exact way he played it. And I found an old recording of him, but it's so I can't hear what he's doing in it. So that's lost, because he passed away. He passed away at 97, a couple of years ago.
Has the family tradition continued? Do you have any children who are playing harmonica?
I have my oldest son plays a little bit. Yeah, he does. He's more of a guitar player, but he does play the harmonica some, and he's wanting to learn more of the old songs.
Do you have any other students or people you've been teaching this style of harmonica playing to?
I've had a lot of people ask me if I could do that, and the little laptop I have won't support a lot of stuff. Uh, One young man, he's a school teacher in Kentucky, and he kept coming up with ideas on how I could do it. And he come up and told me about Facebook and how we could do it on that. So we got together on Facebook for a little bit, and he asked me a few questions, and I showed him some stuff, and he was really pleased with it. Said he's going to get back with me again, and so hopefully will.
So are you planning on offering classes on Facebook or having a Facebook group where you post things, or what's the plan?
Well, I do have a Facebook a page where I post songs. I try to post one every couple of days, but of course I don't get to do that. But I've got quite a few on there right now, and that's the only thing I use Facebook for. I don't use my real name on it. I just use Sarge and Mac is all I use on it because I want it strictly for the music and not to dabble around about what I'd done today or what I'd done yesterday or what I'm going to do tomorrow or whatever.
Right.
I can't believe some of the stuff people put on there. Uh, I just wanted it straight for music, so I do have that. And I haven't really planned on giving any lessons. I've done some tutorial videos that are on YouTube. I think I've done about 4 or 5 of those to kind of get people started on this old style, and I guess it's helped. I've heard some people it really helped them get started on it because they didn't have a clue how it was done. So that's helped them. And I suppose if I have some other people that want to get on there and try to learn it, and of course it's a lot better when you can ask questions back and forth, rather than just watching a video. Uh, if they contact me, we'll see what we can work out.
Oh, speaking of people having questions, if anyone watching right now has a question, feel free to post it in the uh, post it in the chat, and I'll be happy to pose it to Jim here. I'm sure he's happy to
Oh, you betcha. Yeah, that'd be great.
answer your questions about the harmonica or about his experience. Um, do you remember, Jim? I just wanted to ask. Do you remember your first harmonica?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I just bugged my dad silly till he gave me one of his. I think it was he a used one that he wasn't playing anymore. It was a Hohner old standby, and it was in the key of B flat. And for years, that's all I ever played or bought was a Hohner old standby because that's what my family always played. For some reason, they didn't like the Marine Band, which was Marine Band, I guess, was really popular among blues players. But my family always had the old standby, and that same B flat harmonica I took to Vietnam with me when I went to Vietnam in 1967, and I would sit around and play that some. It kind of helped pass the time sometimes, and I lost it over there, so it grew legs, I guess, and walked away.
Think maybe there's someone in Vietnam playing it now,
It could be.
playing that old style.
Could be.
Um, yeah. So I did have one question here. How is your harmonica tuned, and is it easy to play with fiddle players?
Would you say that again? I couldn't quite catch you.
They wanted to know how your if your harmonica is tuned the same as a fiddle, and if it's easy to play with fiddle players.
I've never played with a fiddle player, but no, it's not tuned like a fiddle. Of course, the fiddle's only got 4 strings on it. And I think it's G, D, A, and E, if I'm not
Right.
mistaken. I see one in the background there that you have a fiddle.
Yeah.
I have one that hates me, absolutely hates me. But no, it's not. It's not tuned like a fiddle at all. A
I think
harmonica.
I think they meant like the pitch, like 440.
No, no. There are. I don't really understand that. There are a lot of them are tuned 440, and some of them are like if it's just intonation, it's different. And I don't understand it. But like I say, I stay away from the equal tuned harmonicas. I don't. There's certain brands that they're all equal tuned, so I don't buy them. And I'm not. I really don't care what brand the harmonica is. Uh, if it's most of them now are, if they're not equal tuned, you can get compromised tuning, which is Hohner and Seidel uses that. So that's what I buy, and as long as it's in tune and plays good, I'm happy with it. I don't care what name it's got on it.
So what makes for this old style? What makes if someone was looking for a harmonica to play this old style with? What makes a harmonica, or what should they look for in a harmonica? What makes it better or worse for this style?
Well, like I say, you want it to be at least compromised tuning. You don't want an equal tuned, or I don't. I don't want an equal tuned harmonica
Right.
because the chording will sound kind of, I don't know, it doesn't sound quite right. Uh, you want one that's in tune and that's pretty airtight. There's several. I suppose if I was going to recommend someone to buy one, I would. A good one to start off with is like a Hohner Special 20. It's a real popular harmonica. Most places have them. They're I don't even know how much they are now, 40 some dollars. The Seidel, any of the Seidel harmonicas, the Solus Pro is a real good one, and it's about the same price. So, you want to have a good instrument. You can. I was talking to P.T. Gazelle one time, which he's a jazz harmonica player, probably the best in the world on a diatonic harmonica. But he told me, he says, I can grab any harmonica around and play it. But the difference is you want to know that you have a good instrument. And that's what I tell everyone. I could take a blues band, a Hohner blues band, which you can buy for $10, and I can play it. It'll play, and you probably couldn't tell the difference. I could while I was playing it. But you want a good instrument when you start out. You want one when you start out that's going to be in tune, it's going to stay in tune. So if people are really serious about it, I'd recommend that they get one that's at least in the special 20 category, the Seidel Solus Pro category. And because you do want a good instrument when you start out. You don't want something that's going to discourage you that you can't get a note out of.
Right. I you said you were talking. You mentioned earlier that a lot of people are playing like blues harmonica style, and you mentioned you were talking to a good jazz harmonica player. Do you play any of those other styles as well, or are you strictly the old time style?
Well, I fiddle with blues. I'm not good. I'm not a good blues player by no means. But I think on my third volume there was one kind of a bluesy thing there, maybe a couple of bluesy things I done on it. But one just because a guy told me, challenged me to do it, so I done it. It's called Pete's Lament. It was, Pete is a blues player, and he wanted me to try that, which I did, and it's not very good, but at least I done it.
So
But it's the blues, of course. Blues stuff is all. It's mostly drawing on the notes. Where the old time you do a lot of blowing, blowing and drawing. But it seems like blues is a lot of drawing on the notes, and they're usually on the bottom part of it, and they do a lot of bending.
could you maybe again for the harmonica neophytes here? What do you mean when you say blowing and drawing and bending? What are all those? Could you
Well,
walk
blowing
that
is
term
when
for
you're
me?
blowing into the, and
Right.
then drawing is when you're inhaling on it.
And
And the
what's
bending of the note is, and that's what they want in a lot of that blues stuff. It's all that kind of a blues, sad sounding stuff, where you sit there and hang your nose in a glass of whiskey while you're listening to this stuff.
well, I don't know. You said you weren't a blues player, but that sounded pretty good to me.
Well, no, I'm not a blues player.
So, so what's the difference though? What's the difference between blowing in a harmonica and drawing as far as like the note that plays?
Well, it's like that's the scale, and you got that's a blow, that's a drawing,
Hmm.
and you have a different note when you blow, and you have a different note when you draw. That's what confuses a lot of people
Yeah.
when they start playing. And the thing about a harmonica, you can't see what you're doing. It's like a
Right.
guitar or mandolin, fiddle. You can see, watch your fingers and see what you're doing. But a harmonica is strictly, you got to have an ear. If you're tone deaf, you're going to have a terrible time playing a harmonica, you know, because it's just strictly by ear.
I would argue if you're tone deaf, you're going to have a great time playing the harmonica because
Yeah,
you
that's
won't know
true.
how bad you sound.
That's true. That's true. You can just play anything.
Well, do you want to play another one for us?
Sure,
Another one
sure.
of those old time numbers?
You bet.
And what do you call that one?
That was Liberty.
That was Liberty. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Now, I lived in Bavaria in Germany for a long time, and what really strikes me about this style of harmonica playing is that it sounds a lot like Bavarian accordion players.
It does. Yes, it does. It sure does.
So, what's the connection there between? Is there a connection between that style of backing and German music?
Well, probably because it all started, my understanding, in Germany. You know, the oldest uh, harmonica manufacturer is in Germany, which is Fiddle. They've been doing it longer than anyone. And it was invented supposedly in Germany, from what I understand. So, yeah, there's a big connection to it. And you can play, you play a polka on a harmonica and it sounds like an accordion, so.
I was just about to ask. I know that for some people, a very specific group of people in sort of the north or the Midwest, the northern Midwest in America, when you say old time music, they think of polka bands.
Right,
Um,
yeah.
are there in your growing up playing harmonica? Did you play a lot of polkas? Were polkas a big part of your repertoire?
No, no, it wasn't. I play a lot of them. I have to use a chromatic harmonica because there's sharps and flats in it, so which aren't on a diatonic harmonica. Uh, I think the only one I played on a diatonic was a beer barrel polka, but like a Pennsylvania polka and those, I always use a chromatic harmonica to play those.
Could you maybe give us an example of one of the polkas you play?
Yeah. Too high.
that's so. It does sound just like an accordion.
Yeah, yeah, it does.
It's
Of
crazy.
course, I had to hit wrong notes in that because it doesn't have them.
Right. Well, I couldn't tell.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't
that's
know what
true.
it's supposed to sound like, but it sounded great to me. Um, yeah. So I've been watching a lot of your YouTube channel lately. You post a lot of these old tunes on the harmonica on your YouTube
Hmm.
channel. Can you tell us a little bit about that? You know, why you started it, what it's there for, what
Well,
it's called?
they're just I done it just so people would. Of course, I didn't know anything about how many people were playing the old stuff or if there was anyone anymore playing it. So I thought when I got a computer and found out about all this YouTube stuff, I thought, well, I'll start putting it on there. People can hear this old style. I had a pretty good response to a lot of it. I don't know how many subscribers I got now, over 500, I think, but I'm not sure. So there's a lot of people interested in hearing this old stuff, and I get a lot of requests on there to play certain songs, and which I do. I suppose one of the ones that was hardest, I guess, for me to adapt to a harmonica was an old fiddle tune called Ragtime Manning, because on the fiddle that is really busy.
Yeah, that's got a lot of notes in it.
Yeah, so it's kind of hard for me to adapt it to a harmonica. So I said, "This is Ragtime Annie adapted for the harmonica because it's not don't sound exactly like it does on a fiddle."
Well, now you've got me curious.
Okay.
Wow, that and you adapted that to the harmonica? That was
Yeah,
original arrangement there.
I guess. Yeah.
So what's the name of your YouTube channel? Where can people go to listen to your harmonica music?
Well, I used, and I don't know why I come up with that, but I used the numeral one and then seesaw and the numeral two.
Where'd that come from?
I wouldn't have the slightest idea. I tried putting stuff on there and they say that's already taken, and just tried that and it worked. So
So, well there you go. One seesaw two. You can see a lot
one
of
seesaw too. Yeah.
hear a lot of really really nice harmonica music. And so if people out there who watch the video are interested in learning some harmonica themselves, what's the best way for them to reach out and get in contact with you if they're looking
Well,
for
you
some
can contact
particulars?
me by my email, which is McDonald, spelled just like the hamburger, McDonald at sktc.net. And that's my email, and you can contact me there and go from there.
Um, yeah, is it possible for people to message you on do you check the comments and messages on your YouTube channel as well?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, sure do. Yeah, they can contact me that way. You bet.
So what would you like to see happen in the old time harmonica world? What's your goal getting all this music out there?
I would like to see people start acknowledging the harmonica as being a central and major part of old time music because back in the old days, like in Appalachia, where it all started. These people, they were poor. They couldn't come up with $5 for a fiddle, but they could come up with a dime or a quarter for a harmonica and start making music. And anytime you get into this old time stuff, they always want to concentrate on a fiddle or a banjo. And I've talked to Elkins College out in West Virginia. They got that Augusta Heritage Center, and they put on an old time week every year. Never have a harmonica in it. They might have a dulcimer, a mountain dulcimer. They'll have people playing that, and a banjo and fiddle. And I called them and I said, "Why don't you have a harmonica in it?" And of course, I bug them like I bugged you. I keep sending them my CDs so they can listen to it.
What'd they say?
Well, they're now seriously thinking about including a harmonica in Old Time Week.
At Augusta, that's really great. It seems like you're getting the message out.
Well, I called the guy in charge of it every year,
Mm-hmm.
and so I guess he just got tired of me bugging him. And decided, well, okay, we'll have a harmonica in there sometime.
The persistence paid off, huh?
It did, yeah.
So
And I
you
told him, I said, I'll come out there and do it for nothing. I won't charge you anything. If I do a lesson, you can have the money for it, whatever. I just want to see the harmonica included. So
so you're looking to start the old time harmonica revival,
yeah, that's true. Yeah, the
old
old
time
time harmonica revival.
old time harmonica revolution.
Well, I'd like to see that happen. I'd like to see, because it was real popular. I think Seth wrote a really in-depth article on harmonica that you guys posted. And
Yeah.
he happened to mention southeast Kansas in that, as far the central part of the harmonica was in southeast Kansas. So
Now you said you live kind of alone and don't have much of a musical community, but is there still a harmonica community in southeast Kansas or?
well, not that I know of.
Mhm.
Not that I know of. I've never had anyone like on my YouTube channel say anything about it. Uh, so as far as I know, there's not.
Well, we'll have to see what we can do about getting one started. Um,
Absolutely.
we'll make sure that we post that we get people, um, help people get in contact with you if they're looking for harmonica lessons. Do you want to just in the last couple minutes we have here, do you want to just maybe play us a couple tunes,
Sure.
play us out
Sure.
before we close out?
Yeah, you bet. You bet. I'll play one. I'll play an original tune that I came up with back in the '70s called Hound Dog Run.
Great. And so you write your own tunes too, huh?
Yeah, some of them. Yeah, there's
That
a
was
few.
beautiful. Um, so Jim, I love the music you're playing. I love that old time style. It sounds really great. Something you don't hear very much anymore, and I really appreciate you sharing it with us.
Well, Richard, I really appreciate you having me on and to be able to show people this, and hopefully there'll be more interest in it.
So what's the best way? Do you have a place where people can go to listen to or to order your albums that you've made?
Well, they can, like I say, they can contact me at on Facebook. I do have my Facebook page. It's just Sarge and then Mac, and then of course my YouTube, and I gave you my email address, which they can contact me there and see if they want to order it. It's on Bandcamp if they just want to download it, and not buy it. So you can go to Bandcamp and it's on there. And I think it's like only $7 or $8 to download the one of them.
I'm just going to pull it up here. jimmcdonald.bandcamp.com. I'll go ahead and put the link in the chat here. People can head there. And yeah, Jim, I just want to say again, thanks so much for joining us today. I've been really happy to hear your music, and I hope that we hear a lot more harmonica from you. And I hope that what you're doing attracts a lot more people to the old time harmonica, and we start hearing it a lot more.
Well, I do too, and I thank you, Richard. I really appreciate it.
All right. Well, everyone, thanks for joining us here at Old Time Central. This has been myself, Richard Osmond, with Jim McDonald in Elk Falls, Kansas. And if you're looking to learn the harmonica, this is your man. All right. Thanks so much, Jim. I'll talk to you
Okay,
soon.
thank you. Goodbye.
Bye now.